Well, there we are. It's time to kick off. 5:45. It doesn't appear too bad outside, but boy, did it pour it down again yesterday after such a good start. It's going to be up and down for the rest of the few days remaining until Christmas Eve. I'm afraid that we're in, well, we've got some sunshine over the weekend, but it doesn't look as if we're getting either snow or anything decent on Christmas Day. It'll be a question of wrapping up and making a dash from home to friends, from home to the pub, from home to the church, from the church to the pub, from the pub back home, and back then to friends again with an umbrella in hand. So I'm terribly sorry that I can't give you any more than that. Now, just a quick heads up, because I gave you the wrong information last week. I got terribly excited because the publishers of Town and County magazine, Richard Judd, working for his editor, Sean Kane, in chatting to them, I misunderstood that this was coming through our mailbox last Friday. Well, it's not. It's going to come through the mailbox this Friday. But there is a little taster of the top of it. It's a nice magazine. It's well laid out. It's got some good stuff in it, and it's absolutely free. And everybody in the well, I think it's BN7 and BN8 will get it through their door. And if you're outside that area, I'm sure that if you look and ask, you can get a copy. A worthwhile little read, I think. Some of the articles are okay, the rest are excellent. I say some of the articles are okay because I've written one. You might want to skim over that. Nevertheless, it's a good magazine. This is the first issue, and if it turns out to be anything like the Eagle comic in the 1950s, I think it was, yes, it'll be in the 1950s. The first edition is now much sought after and worth a fortune. Perhaps the same thing will happen to this. Well, here we are. Good morning. And yesterday, the issue of the staff at Lewes railway station came up in one of the groups. In fact, I think it's Lewes Present, and there was a lady who made a heartfelt plea and said, look, the train company may be rubbish and the trains may be difficult, but the staff at Lewes station are absolutely terrific. And I don't often respond on Facebook, but I've felt moved to, because they are tremendous. From the people who serve you the tickets, who do their best to look after very complicated ticket arrangements, very short notice. In other words, you walk up to the ticket office and say, "Yeah, I want a day return to Godalming, and throw in 2 trips to London, and then can I go to Portsmouth and back to Haywards Heath and that to Lewes all in one day?" And they don't blink; they just start to sort it out for you. Very friendly. At the barrier, some really very nice people. And if you go down onto the platform, most of the people down there, in fact, I'd say all the people down there, are very helpful. There is a culture of friendliness and being helpful and supportive of the passenger. And actually, if you speak to people on a station, you can still call them passengers. It's only some of those very funny people that inhabit head office where we become clients. I think that's what they call us now, clients. My goodness me. Yeah. If I sent in a request for a receipt for every ticket, I'd soon find out that I wasn't a client at all. But full marks to the staff here, because they are brilliant. And they keep things going, and the point really is the station manager is a very laid back and very nice young man, and he has managed to establish the culture right throughout the station. But that's added to by one part of the station that's had a culture of friendliness for since 1980. What is that? 1986 or 87, something like that, which is 30 odd years. And that is the staff at the Runaway, where I quite often, if I'm going to London on the very early train, I do my broadcast from. And it's owned by a lady called Jackie Elsey, who has been a stalwart of the Lewis community for goodness knows how many years. She's now handed over most of her responsibility to Pavel and his sister Jo, backed up by Lily, and backed up by Caroline. And so it doesn't matter which time of day you go in, and they're open from literally 5 in the morning until 7 in the evening, which is it's some good going. I mean, it's the only place open, I think, in Lewis at 5 in the morning. And you're greeted with the same friendliness and the same happy faces, and they can't wait to give you, well, not give you, but sell you at a very reasonable price their decent coffee. So I back up everything that was said yesterday by those people who are talking about the front of house staff in the railway. The operational side is still they still send more trains to Littlehampton than to anywhere else, and I still haven't found out why. And when I got onto the train last night, the Lewis train comes in, and the first 4 carriages are sitting there empty and driverless. You have to walk down the platform to the 8 that are coming down here. Now, at least all 8 are coming down here, but I couldn't help but think those solitary carriages were probably there because the operational staff are waiting to get us out of the way, out of eyesight, and send them down to Littlehampton. I'd love to see the stats on passengers going to Eastbourne, Hastings, Lewis, and against those going to Littlehampton. They're probably more or less equal. The service most certainly isn't. There are more trains going to Littlehampton, you can guarantee. And if there is a choice where they've lost a carriage or they've lost a driver or whatever, you can bet that the train that pulls out is the one for Littlehampton. And the number of times we've been pitched out at Haywards Heath and told to wait for the next train, which we could have caught in Victoria and sat on in comfort. It happens all the time. But then, that's how you deal with clients. You don't deal with customers that way, and they haven't a clue how to deal with a customer or even a passenger. And we were ruminating yesterday. I was with a very interesting group of people, and no slouches, very intelligent and wealthy people. But how it doesn't matter what form of transport you're talking about now. It's all about an attempt to be efficient, which they're not. It's nothing about comfort. I mean, the trains are just uncomfortable. And luckily, most of those people travelled in the day when we had a buffet car. And you could stand with a gin and tonic held high over your head because everybody was jammed in there, but it was a jolly crowd, and nobody complained about the trains because they were all busy sipping their gin all the way down from Victoria to Lewis. And at Christmas time, there were carols and balloons in the carriages and so on and so forth. That service has gone. And then we got onto the airlines. And as this gentleman said, I used to fly at British Airways. He said, I've been very lucky. I've been able, through a firm, to fly business class. He said, now I go by EasyJet because there is no difference in the service. The only big difference is in the price. And he said, yes, I do pay the extra 10 quid so I can make sure I get at the front of the queue and get on and get a decent seat. But other than that, there is no difference. And what a pity, because British Airways was our flag carrier. It was just fantastic after it was privatised. Lord King and the people that he got around him did a fantastic job. And they couldn't be faulted. Now I'm afraid it's just another rubbish airline that is challenged by the cheapos, shall we say? I think that's a bit derogatory, because what they do is they get you there fast. If you want to drink, you buy it. You buy it from the man who's supposed to be in charge of cabin safety, but we won't deal too deeply into that. I'm sure they're all well trained. But once again, it's a pity that the whole feeling today, and I had to go at the generations, the whole feeling today is, let's be austere. Let's wring every last pound out of the operation. Well, that's okay. But if what happens is the service and the comfort and the treatment of the client, customer, passenger slides down dramatically, what have you achieved? You drive them to, if I had my way, Emirates would come into London and take over from all of them. You get into Emirates steerage and it's like being in business class. I hate to think what their first class is like. The cost isn't any different. They just manage to do it in a very, very customer-oriented way. Anyway, enough of that, because really it's the PR policies seem to be, let's do very good front-of-end people. In other words, the staff at Lewes Station, for that matter, the staff at the front end in Lewes, anyway, I've never been to the Eastbourne side of Lewes District Council, but this staff that you actually go in and meet and greet, they're okay, they're very good, most of them. It's once you go behind that door that goes hiss and somebody comes and, looking very important, hits the button so they can get in and you go shh, 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 and they disappear. Have you ever seen them before? No. But that's not PR. That's just papering over the cracks, and that's exactly what's happening. But it's certainly not papering over the cracks when it comes to dealing with these people, so well done. Railway people, the front... we had that failing a bit, but it seemed that yesterday's rant was okay. But the front end people, terrific in many instances, and they deserve being patted on the back. Behind the scenes, chaos still reigns, and they still are targeting, I'm sorry, people like me, over 35. The funny thing is, of course, it's the old thing is go for the weakest part of the sector. Well, be careful, chaps. We're not. We may be aged, we may be wrinkly, but I'll tell you, the fighting spirit of most of my people who are the same age as me is take us on at your peril. Really, take us on at your peril. Go back and do some rethinking and stop aiming at the elderly. That's the easy option. You think. You wait. Now, two other things very quickly, because we've got a charity we got in mind, and we're going to help try and support it over the year. I'm not going to mention it because we haven't spoken to them yet, except that our colleagues at Town and County have, and I'm sure that they would be very happy for us to join forces so that we can support that charity. But the other thing is that I would like to hear ideas from people, because ideas are terrific. But when you start to chat about things, that's the chatting and communicating, which we do less and less of the more we allow computers to take over, is the way to come up with some good ideas. So the other thing that I would like us to support is saving the high street. And people say, well, what are you going to do, the computer and so on. Well, no, there are ways of saving the high street, I'm quite sure. And actually, small town America has, even though they've got some standard ones, there are some very, very pretty towns in America left where they have lots of small shops, even though they got Walmart and all that sort of lot down the road. But they've survived, they've flourished, and they've turned it in many ways into a tourist attraction. So there've got to be thoughts. Let's save the high street. I always sort of take a scan around to take a look at the news in the morning before I come on to make sure I haven't missed anything terribly serious. We're having a go at Russia today on the BBC, but I'm afraid that the BBC is really becoming a much lighter operation than it ever was. Because what it's doing is it's saying it needs more money. No. What it needs is a thorough shake-up right at the top, all the way down. But you won't get it from this government because they don't care. The Conservatives have a little go at the BBC for being biased, and the other side do too. That's understood. But the standard of reporting has just gone to pieces. And watching it this morning is they spent a lot of time this hour of the morning, when a lot of us are up looking at, is having a go at Russia and saying what an awful society it was. Well, look in your own backyard, chaps. Be a bit honest for a change. The same gentleman I was discussing the state of the trains yesterday, as he said, if you actually take a look at various nations' 24-hour news services, what you'll find is that Brexit is 5th or 6th down. We're the only one that makes sure that we put at least a half hour of news on Brexit. Oh, my goodness me. I hope the word will disappear after all this kerfuffle is over. But I'm not saying it's not important. Of course it is. But giving it the sort of importance that we get from our media is just horrific. And when the BBC actually hold up the headlines from the Guardian to support their case, then we know we're in trouble. Is that marvelous? If I had said that 10 years ago and gone on to Fleet Street, I'd have been lynched. Today, people will lean with their beer and they'll look at me and say, Keith, we can't contradict you. Oh, well, I won't be contradicted this morning then. That's it. Lots of other things I could have talked about, of course, but don't forget this. Town and County magazine through your letterbox on Friday. Good read. Plenty of information in it. Doesn't cost you a penny. Till tomorrow, I think I'll say face to face to you. Toodle pip.